Father loved America, there was no question about it, and I think he was influential for the reason I'm here now in some way. You could have said, look, you can go anywhere in the world, where do you want to go? And he'd say, no, I want to, he'd always come to America. He loved it. And when the collection started to grow, I can remember one goodly year, he called me up and he said, I'm going to come out and visit with you. And I'm quite excited, of course. I didn't see my father for months on end and years perhaps. And he called me up one day and said he was going to come out for a week, which you consider, you've got a day and a half traveling, a day and a half going home. Wasn't a great deal of time, but I went to the Dallas airport to pick him up, and he was standing outside of the baggage claim there, and he had 2 huge suitcases. And as I pulled up, and I thought, how long is he going to stay? I couldn't believe it. And so we loaded these cases up in a little carry-on bag, and we went back to, then I had a little apartment, and Father stayed with me there, and I remember we opened up these cases, and they were full. I mean, you probably had to sit on the case to close it, of postcards that he'd handwritten for months to obscure people and obscure addresses. And I can remember sitting on the floor of my apartment for days, it seemed like, sticking stamps on them. And then he'd make me mail them.
I've got to ask, who are these postcards addressed to? You say obscure people. Are these people?
Obscure people that leads that he would talk to somebody about. Somebody played who was a session musician in Abilene, whose great nephew moved to Little Rock. And Father would look this up and write to him and say, hey, listen, I'm Dave, and I'm trying to build an archive, and I want to have a voice for you. Hi, basically. And these people, so many people would rejoice. We're talking about long deceased musicians. They'd say, well, Uncle Jack or whoever it may be, we've got still some instruments or perhaps parts of performance clothing or songbooks or anything that people would just keep, and they would send it to Father with love and great anticipation. And that was really his trip was consumed. You couldn't go to any town or anywhere that if it said record shop, he was in there. So that was really Father's trips was all about that.
I also wanted to ask you, Alan, I understand that your father was friends with some country music artists. We saw the picture of him with Gene Autry. He met Gene Autry, but he was good friends with an Australian artist who also lived a long time in England, Frank Ifield, right?
Yeah, I don't remember Mr. Ifield. I think he stayed at the house a couple of times, but I remember as a kid traveling with Father to here, actually, many years ago, and we were somewhere, and a group was performing. I think it was the Oak Ridge Boys, if I've got that correct. And we went to see this performance, and we were just sort of hanging around the lobby, and out came the performers, that were quite happy to talk to anybody that was interested in what they were doing and their music. And, my father loved that. These people were, I think the word's not accessible, but they were happy to give some time to you if you were interested in what they were doing. And I think he loved that. And he made a lot of friends, along the way for that.